What is up, everyone, and welcome to There Can Only Be One, the podcast that puts together the all-star best of playlists of your favorite bands and artists. And we got a good one this week because we are talking about the queen of pop herself, Madonna. And here to join me down this road, maybe the most hard-rocking Madonna fan that I know, Sean Faust is back. Sean, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am psyched to talk about who I must tell you now is the very first artist I was ever really into from day one. And I'm not gatekeeping saying from day one I've been listening to Madonna. I'm just saying before there was even Floyd in my life, who's my favorite band, there's my favorite artist, and it's Madonna. Day one, baby.
I was about to say, I wondered how, because the first time you were on the show, of course, we were talking about Dream Theater. And then the next time you were on the show, we were talking about Tesla. So we have gone from prog to rock to Madonna.
It's weird. See, now you said to Madonna. You can't really, I mean, granted, I guess she's pop. She's the queen of pop, but she's always reinventing pop. She's either taking that sound that exists and then elevating it further, or just whatever's hip that year is just out the door now because here's this brand new sound.
Oh yeah, I mean, there is nothing that Madonna wouldn't try, musically, and I'm sure otherwise. But no, we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that.
I have that book.
The modern day Kama Sutra as written by Madonna. No, we're not going to go down that road. We're just going to be sticking to her music here. We're not going to talk about Swept Away at all. Please, dear God, no. No, we're talking about Madonna and her studio discography. So let me explain what we're going to be doing here. We are going to go through 15 studio albums. We are going to leave out any best ofs, any live albums, and any remix albums. That means we're not talking about the Immaculate Collection. We're also going to be skipping the Evita soundtrack and the Who's That Girl soundtracks because on those albums, she is not the sole artist. However, we are going to be putting in the Dick Tracy soundtrack, I'm Breathless. Now, for brevity's sake, Madonna has a few albums to her and a few awards to go along with those albums. We could spend all day and list every single Madonna award and nomination, but then this would be like a 10-hour podcast, and just go to Wikipedia and you'll see all of them. We are going to mention some of the major ones like the Grammys, so we're going to keep the list brief. We also have a lot of shout outs for this show as well. A lot of people have chimed in with their picks. We are going to get through all of them as well. But before we get to the first album, I want to give a quick shout out to the Adapted to Screen podcast. They picked Justify My Love, which is, of course, off the Immaculate Collection. So we're not going to be talking about that song, but that song is
written by Lenny Kravitz.
Very, very cool. See, there we go. There's the rock
or
connection right there.
Or was that Slash? Wait. No, yeah, it was Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah.
Lenny Kravitz.
And then Bren went with This Used to Be Our Playground off of the A League of Their Own soundtrack.
This Used to Be My Playground is a beautiful song. And then, I'm sorry, keep going.
It is a phenomenal song and a phenomenal movie that it came off of. Anyone who listens to It's Not That Bad will know that that was the movie I picked as my watch movie when we did the Keep Watch Pass on movies starring recording artists. And then, of course, I had to mention Swept Away as well. But that was definitely not the keep. But we're sticking to the music talk on this one. And we're going to start in 1983 and the self-titled debut release from her. Released on July 27th of that year. The album peaked at number 8 in the US. It is 5 times platinum in the US, 3 times platinum in Australia, platinum in France, Netherlands, and the UK. There were 5 singles off of this one. Holiday and Lucky Star both hit number 1 on the US dance charts, and Lucky Star also hit number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, Brian Colburn over at My Weekly Mixtape and Daryl Alber chose Borderline. Alex Whistle, yes, related to me, and you'll remember him from the Michael Jackson episode. He chose Holiday, and the Only Three Lads podcast went with Everybody. So, Sean, I'm giving the mic to you. Off of Madonna's debut album, which one did you go with?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm going to go with Brian and Daryl. There's something about just that soft electric piano, and then the synth comes in, and it's Borderline all the way, baby. That's a great album, by the way, from start to finish. Great album. Some of these later on are going to be really tough, but Borderline was just, I looked at the song list. I listened to the album because I was listening to the album, but look at the song list. I'm like, it's going to be Borderline. I know it's going to be Borderline. At the end of the album, it was Borderline.
Well, I'm not on the border on this pick. I'm with you on this one. Borderline is honestly such a good song, but really, this is your debut album. Like this is your introduction to the music world, and what a debut album. Like there's no doubt as to why she defined pop music for the decade, at least from a female singer perspective, and has sold as many albums as she has. That first album is literally a flagpole in the ground, staking her claim to basically pop music at the time. I lost track of how many times her videos were on, and I can't even say Much Music at the time because, of course, Much Music wasn't a thing at the time, but I remember CBC had a show called Video Hits, and, when it was basically like a half-hour show or, whatever they had on, like, CBC, and that was your only chance to watch music videos then because there was no YouTube, there was no internet, there was no all music channel. It was, you had that half hour on national TV. Those were the shows that gave us the music videos. MTV was around at that time, obviously, as I recall, but it took us a while to get our Much Music here. But how often were those videos on?
For me, I always had the radio on. I was always hanging out in my grandfather's workshop with him, and I always had the radio going. So it was either Z100 or PLJ over here, but Lucky Star was always on. Borderline was always on. Everybody, everything was on. Always on. Madonna, constantly. And that's probably just like, I'm pretty sure I loved it from the get-go. Like, wow, what's this? This is great. Or it could have just been like, wow, I hear this so much that, it's what's that hostage thing called?
Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome, yeah.
That'll be Madonna's next album, Stockholm Syndrome. It'll just get played over and over again until you admit that you like it. Now we're going to move on to Like a Virgin, released November 12th, 1984. Hit number 1 in 6 countries. It is diamond in the US and Canada, 7 times platinum in Australia, triple platinum in the UK, double platinum in France, Italy, and Switzerland, and platinum in Spain. There were 4 singles off of this one. Like a Virgin hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Brian, the Adapted to Scream podcast, Daryl Albert, and Alex all went with Dress You Up, and the Only Three Lads podcast went with Material Girl. And I'm not going to lie, I sided with the Only Three Lads podcast. Material Girl was my pick, and I've said it on the show a number of times, just how much a video can change my perception of the song. And maybe it's because I'm a video editor and I really connect with visual mediums, but that music video is so iconic, and yes, I get that they were, basically riffing off of Marilyn Monroe. I get it. It's Madonna. She's allowed to do that. But really, that may be her signature video.
I agree with that. Maybe. Up till now, sure. Up until this album, up to this point, yeah, sure.
I mean, sure, there's the Like a Virgin video where she's, on the boat, and just basically dancing around, and there's a lion walking around, something like that. It's a very there video. Material Girl really kind of brought it to that next level. And yes, I know there's going to be some videos that we talk about that, yes, they're going to be huge videos. But I mean, at least to me, whenever I think of Madonna, this is the first video that comes to mind. But off of Like a Virgin, what did you go with?
Well, my friend, 2 in a row. I'm with you guys. Material Girl. That album just opens up and says, hey, I'm still here and I'm back. Let me tell you a bit about myself.
It was almost the perfect song for her to, again, plant that flagpole in the ground and state basically that she's here for the long haul. Like, again, that's a 1-2 punch right at the beginning of her career. And it really, up until maybe about 1992, there was no stopping her.
When did she get stopped in 1992?
Well, I mean, Erotica was a big album per se, but I don't know if it achieved as wide or as big a success as some of the earlier ones. But again, that's just personal opinion.
Well, it also came with a coffee table book. If you bought the coffee table book, Sex.
If you were allowed to buy the coffee table book.
I was old enough.
Right now, there's people who say they're going, yep, we had that coffee table book. And then we did things on the coffee table. No, sorry, again. We're going to stick to the music.
I mean, it's not an instructional manual, but I mean, it could
now
be
you tell me.
inspirational. No, it's more for like, just use your mind, free your mind. The rest will follow.
See, it was an instruction manual. Came with lyrics and everything. Before we go,
that's en vogue, mon frere.
Very, very true. Okay, so before we devolve anymore, let's move on to True Blue. Released June 30th, 1986, hit number 1 everywhere. It is 7 times platinum in the US and the UK, 4 times platinum in Australia and Italy, triple platinum in Spain and Switzerland, and platinum in the Netherlands, and diamond in Canada and France. There were 5 singles off of this one. Live to Tell, Papa Don't Preach, and Open Your Heart all hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. That year, 1987, Madonna won Fave Pop Rock Female Video Artist at the American Music Awards. Brian went with La Isla Bonita. Alex went with Papa Don't Preach. Daryl Albert chose Open Your Heart, and the Only Three Lads podcast went with Jimmy Jimmy. Off of True Blue, what did you go with?
Well, I'm going to start by telling you this. This album and Ray of Light are tied as my favorite Madonna album. Choosing a song from either of these two albums is almost a pain in the ass. However, there's a certain sound I like, very huge in the 80s too. Even Floyd kind of used it. And the song that I chose kind of has that little Floydy Yet Another Movie middle section. And it's just a beautiful tune. It's called Live to Tell, brother. I love this song. This is a top 5 Madonna song for me.
The Live to Tell was almost my pick because you're right. It's very cinematic the way that song is written, and I again, as I've said on previous episodes, I love a good storytelling in a song, and you could easily, I mean, yes, there was a video for it, but you could, even if there was no video, you could easily envision what a movie would look like based on this song. I actually ended up going with Open Your Heart. And again, another one of those songs where, for me, this one was sold almost on the pre-chorus. Like just that little build-up before you get right into it.
Dude, and it's the bass. It's that bass line of beep, 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 beep.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, you said it.
I did say it.
All right.
It's by the way, I've been told now that I say right a lot on my shows here. So grab your drinks. If I say it, have a shot. Apparently, I am now very self-aware, and I'm scared now when I have to go and edit this show.
Right?
Have a drink, everyone. Have a drink. Hey, wait, no, I know you can't drink because I didn't say it. You said it. So
That's
does that count? Okay.
No. It's only when you say it.
Okay,
right?
so that was the warning shot. That was the shot across the bow, if you will. But there are certain things about her songs where the chord changes really get me, and I'm a sucker for a good hook. I'm a sucker for a decent chord progression, and Open Your Heart does that for me. But you're right, like this is one of those albums where almost front to back it's solid, and maybe up to this point her strongest album of the 3.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt.
But that's going to be challenged, of course, on March 21st, 1989, with the release of Like a Prayer. Hit number 1 in 8 different countries. It is 4 times platinum in the US and Australia and Spain and the UK, 5 times platinum in Canada, double platinum in France and Switzerland, and platinum in the Netherlands. There were 6 singles off of this one. Like a Prayer charted the highest, hitting number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Brian, Daryl, and the Only Three Lads podcast chose Like a Prayer, and Alex went with Express Yourself. So off of Like a Prayer, what did you go with?
So one of my favorite bass lines of all time, and I'm sure this is why Brian also chose this song, is Like a Prayer, because that bass line, played by the one and only incredible Guy Pratt of Ice House, Pink Floyd, currently on tour with Nick Mason's Saucer Full of Secrets. This guy is the best. He's the bass player on Life in a Northern Town. Hey, ya, na, na. Anyway, so I can see why Brian would choose that song. That bass line is perfect, and it just kind of like the pre-chorus of Open Your Heart. The bass is kind of like playing the third under the chord, just to give it that build and that tension. And I love Guy Pratt's playing on Like a Prayer so much. It's, like I said, one of my favorite bass lines of all time. However, it's not my choice. My choice is Madonna stepping out of her comfort zone and writing this beautiful piano ballad called Oh Father. Everything about that song is just perfect.
It's a solid choice. I can't disagree with you there. I ended up going with Like a Prayer for 2 reasons. One, it's the choir. And I've mentioned on this show before in a previous episode, the choir on that song is so good. And I remember, I think I was talking with Alex, and he had the choir only version of this song. And yeah, it's solid.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
So do I.
Now, yes.
Yeah.
But it's also the bridge of this song. And when it comes to, like, again, throwing a slight dynamic into there, it's almost a tense bridge. Like, and again, yes, the video did, of course, sell this one, but musically and vocally, this song is firing on all cylinders. Next, we get to a little soundtrack action, and I'm Breathless, the soundtrack to Dick Tracy. Released May 22nd, 1990, it is double platinum in the US, Spain, and Canada, platinum in Australia, Japan, and the UK. There were 2 singles off of this one, Vogue, of course, being the biggest one, hitting number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Vogue also won the Fave Dance Single Award of the 1991 American Music Awards. Now, Brian chose Hanky Panky. Gomez, Daryl Din, and Marie Jameson all chose Vogue, and the Only Three Lads podcast went with Sooner or Later. So off of this soundtrack, Sean, what have you got?
I got to tell you, I got to check out this Only Three Lads podcast, because I also went with the Stephen Sondheim cover. Brian, from my weekly mixtape, it's a cover. You didn't go with that cover? Although Hanky Panky's a cover too. Never mind. Actually, no, it's not. Brian, come on, man. I also went with Sooner or Later.
You realize we are now 5 albums into this, and we have matched on 3 of them already. So clearly you stole my notes somewhere. Sooner or Later is a great song, and it's a great moment in the film as well. But I think the thing I like about this is when I was in high school, I was in orchestra, not band, orchestra. String orchestra, playing upright bass. And I remember doing musicals like Guys and Dolls. And this is that kind of, that slow, kind of almost like jazz kind of swing that, we played a lot of that in string orchestra. It was along with the classical as well. And it just hit. Like, yeah, Vogue's a good song, and it gets played a lot. And that's probably why I didn't pick it, because it gets played a lot. But this song, Sooner or Later, it just swings. It swings in like a dirty, sexy kind of way.
Well, something also about Sooner or Later kind of brings me back to my childhood. It reminds me of I'm Feeling Fine from the movie Bugsy Malone, written by the great Paul Williams. Like, both of these songs, like Paul Williams and Stephen Sondheim can write a song. Anybody that says otherwise doesn't understand songwriting at all. And these songs both have that same kind of vibe that, how do you not just get sucked into it? And even with the movie, you get a montage That's called a montage.
We're gonna need a montage.
Yeah. And, Rocky IV already came out a few years before, so like they decided let's go with a slower jazz-based tune.
Right. More montages, the better.
Take a drink.
Yeah, there we go. Yep. I'm not going to be able to listen to myself as I edit this episode. So thank you, I guess.
Sure.
We now move on to 1992 and Erotica. The album hit number 2 in the U.S., number 1 in Australia and France. It is double platinum in the U.S., Canada, and UK, triple platinum in Australia, and platinum in Spain. There were 6 singles off of this one. Erotica peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, and Erotica, Deeper and Deeper, and Fever hit number 1 on the Billboard dance charts. Now, Brian went with Erotica, Alex chose Deeper and Deeper, and the Only Three Lads podcast went with Waiting. So off of Erotica, Sean, what did you go with?
Well, this is the first time I'm not in line with anybody so far. I don't know what your choice is going to be, but I feel it. It's coming. Rain, baby. Rain.
It's a good song, and it was actually one of the better singles off of this album. I will admit, but
I
no,
love this song.
You do
what?
Not.
No,
you're not in lockstep with me on this one.
No, I'm not in lockstep with anybody on this one, but it doesn't change the fact that I love Rain. But Jason, what did you choose?
I ended up going with Bad Girl, and again,
Drunk by Six.
And this kind of fits into that live to tell kind of storytelling. Again, you could easily visualize, whether there's a video or not, you could easily visualize a video for this song. It leans into Madonna's stronger songwriting and lyric writing abilities. She paints a very good picture lyrically, and I think that's something that, while yes, she gets a lot of credit for, the dance songwriting, the live presentation, during the touring, the ability to cross over into acting, but I don't know if she gets as much credit as she should for the visual imagery she gets with her lyrics.
Dude, you just nailed it. She doesn't. You're right, but man, can you say that again?
We'll just hit rewind. Like, if you're listening to the podcast, just
copy it and paste it.
Exactly. We now move on to 1994 and Bedtime Stories, released October 25th of that year. The album hit number 3 in the U.S. and number 1 in Australia. It is triple platinum in the U.S., double platinum in Australia, Canada, Italy, and platinum in Germany, Spain, and the UK. There were 4 singles off of this one. Take a Bow hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Brian went with I'd Rather Be Your Lover, and Alex and the Only Three Lads podcast went with Human Nature. So, Sean, are you in sync, or are you an island unto yourself on this one?
Express yourself, don't repress yourself. I also went with Human Nature.
That video, and again, I lean onto the visuals as well. Again, video editor, I'm not going to lie. That video was so well staged. And, later on, you could see that it probably had a little bit of influence into the video for A Little Less Conversation, the Junkie XL redoing Elvis. The videos and the stage for those videos are very similar, but the video itself was very, very cool.
That's the other thing, too. Like I said earlier, how anytime a new Madonna album came out, pop was reinvented. She kind of did the same with her videos for a while as well. She upped the ante every time until David Fincher spent $2 million to direct The Perfect Drug for 9 Inch Nails.
Oh, and there was a good soundtrack right there, too, with The Lost Highway. Such a good album. Such a good album. I ended up going with Secret off of this one.
Ooh, something's coming over me.
The whole album really does have a very chill groove to it. But I think the reason why this song kind of hit with me is that for their first two albums, I was really big into Portishead when they came out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not the third album, but the first two albums definitely. And this album has a lot of that vibe to it. And Secret just kind of hit into it. But Madonna on this album really got into, even more so than she has in the past, I think more into the breathy vocals. And you can hear a lot of singers today. I think Maria Brink from In This Moment taps into the breathy vocals as well. And, it's almost a signature on this album.
I think you hit the nail on the head. This album definitely is, I don't want to say a departure from, every Madonna album is something different than the album before. I think the only albums that are close to each other are the first one and Like a Virgin. But every album after, it kind of like she reinvents herself while she's reinventing everything else. And yeah, Bedtime Stories does have that more mellow groove to it.
Before we move on, I want to take a second here and give you the space of the microphone and let us know about this initiative that you are trying to raise money for right now.
So here's the thing, man. Gin Asylum. It's a 2-minute song just about not taking life so seriously. And every sale of this song, I want to hit 1 million sales, because that'll give me a good financial cushion after all the expenses and payouts that come from it. A good financial cushion to help cats, kitty cats, kittens, feral cats, stray cats, your cat, an animal shelter. Just anywhere that needs help, I can say, hey, here's the money you need. Sometimes I can just sponsor an adoption, because hey, I love this cat. I want to see them go home. What if we give the incentive as their adoption fees already paid? So you think about that dollar that you think you don't have. You have it. Think about the people that wouldn't buy one album a month, but they pay the equivalent of that every month to have a streaming service without ads. How crazy is that, right? It's $1. Your $1 can go a long way. Gin Asylum by Sean Faust. Help me help animals. I love animals a lot more than people, but if you're the kind of good people that would, spend that dollar to help me achieve my goals, I'll love you just as much.
Now, keep in mind, too, it takes a lot to either raise a cat or to help these cats and feed them and whatnot. So every dollar that goes towards Gin Asylum, it's going to help a lot. And Sean is it's spearheading a really, really great thing. So where can we find the song to buy?
Well, you can go to iTunes, to Amazon. You know what? Even if you buy it, and if you got yourself a Spotify account or an iTunes Music account, stream it. Because when that hits 1 million, I get, I think, 50 cents. 50 cents for every 1 million streams. So let's stream the hell out of this song, too. But let's buy it on iTunes, on Amazon, wherever digital music is sold. That's where you can buy it.
A great cause indeed. But now let's get back to business here. And we're going with a really, really big album, Ray of Light, released in early 1998. The album hit #1 in multiple countries, but not the U.S., where it only hit #2. It was 4 times platinum in the U.S., triple platinum in Australia, France, Germany, Netherlands, Spain, and Switzerland, 7 times platinum in Canada, 5 times in Italy, and 6 times in the UK. There were 6 singles off of this one. Frozen was the highest charting and hit #2 on the Billboard Hot 100. At the 1999 Grammys, the album won for Best Pop Album, and the song Ray of Light won Best Dance Recording and Best Short Form Music Video. Both Brian and Alex went with Ray of Light, and the Only Three Lads podcast went with Frozen. So off of Ray of Light, what did you go with?
This was the toughest album for me to choose from. Like I said earlier, this and True Blue are tied at #1 as my favorite Madonna album. This one leans a little more towards #1. It's got that concept album vibe to it, and it just seems to weave in and out of I don't know what story she's telling, but it's a great one. Ray of Light is also one of my favorite songs ever written, but I could only choose from this album. I'm not thinking of songs, favorite songs. I'm thinking of like, what's the song off this album? I can always sing Ray of Light to myself, but what's the song off this album that I've got to choose just one? And I went really off the deep end into like one of the cooler, like more like modern groove tunes. I went with Candy Perfume Girl.
I can see that. I can easily see that. But I think this is where you and I differ, because this album I wasn't the biggest fan of.
Listen to it again.
Oh, I probably do need to listen to it a couple more times. I ended up
listen to it again and again until you like it, and then keep listening to it until you love it.
Oh,
Stockholm Syndrome.
I was going to say Stockholm Syndrome. Yes, absolutely. I ended up going with Frozen because, again, it's got a really good chill vibe. But there was one song on this that I wish it had more of an acoustic or more of a rock kit kind of recording to it, and that was The Power of Goodbye. I think if that song had more of a live band or an acoustic feel to it, that song would have slayed. Because I think
it did really well here in the States, man.
But I think for me, the recording of it, like the mix on it, not so much. I think I would have. The song is good, but the instrumentation on this recording didn't hit me as well. So I'd love to hear this as a full band. This is where you and I differ.
This is where you and I differ. I love those strings, baby. I don't know why I keep saying baby tonight. What's this new that I'm doing? What the hell's going on? Hey, Jason, baby. But I hear where you're coming from, like getting like when we were talking about the Why Can't Tori Read album, like a modern, like, let's get some crunchy power chords on this one too, and I could see that on Power of Goodbye.
I'd have to take a look to see if this song is actually on any of her live albums, because I have a feeling if it is, it might be one of those things where the song sells itself more as a live song. I remember when we did the Pink episode, and we got to the Funhouse album, I ended up going with Ave Mary A, because while Sober is a phenomenal song, the live version is what sells that song for me. I'd be really curious to hear this song live.
I don't think I have, so I have nothing to offer.
Well, Madonna, make it happen. Do an acoustic rock version of this. Make it happen. We now get into the 2000s and music. The album hit number 1 in the US. It is triple platinum in the US and Australia and Canada, 5 times platinum in the UK, double platinum in France, Germany, Netherlands, Spain, and Switzerland. There were 3 singles off of this one. Music hit number 1 in multiple countries, including on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, Brian and the Only 3 Lads podcast went with Music, and Alex went with Don't Tell Me. So off of Music, what music did you pick?
Hey, Mr. DJ, put a record on, because I'm in sync with those boys. Music.
I hear it makes the people come together.
Yeah.
I don't know where I've heard it, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that logic.
Makes the bourgeoisie and a rebel. Yeah. I
don't know how many times where I've played a bar or a dance club, and in between sets this song gets played on, so to get people on the dance floor. It will always have that effect. This song plays, people will get up and dance. Not the song I went with though. I ended up going with I Deserve It.
Cool.
And I think aside from the visual lyrical writing, Madonna and chill grooves, I think this is where my Madonna appreciation level is. And you can have that with certain artists. Certain aspects of a singer or a band's repertoire will hit differently with different people. And I think for me, I lock in better with Madonna when she's chill as opposed to her dancier songs.
I'm with you. I dig the mellower stuff generally, just because there's something just laid back about it. And also lyrically, like you said, there's more of a portrait.
As they say, get you a girl that can do both. That girl is Madonna. We now move on to American Life.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Woman.
Sorry.
Queen.
Sorry. Okay. Get you a queen that can do both. Yes. That queen. is Madonna. American Life, released April 2003. The album hit number one in the U.S. in multiple countries. It is platinum in the U.S., Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Switzerland, and the UK. There were 4 singles off of this one. American Life, the song, hit number 37 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, Brian and Alex both went with Die Another Day, of course, from the James Bond movie. And the Only Three Lads podcast went with Hollywood. So off of American Life, what did you go with?
I find it ironic that American Life has a song from a British franchise. But, so, the year, it's 2002. Madonna is going to have the theme song for a new James Bond movie. And I'm like, what? Holy crap, this is going to be awesome. And it was going to debut on the radio at 5 p.m. that day. And I was like, all right, I'm at work. And I run downstairs. It's 5 o'clock. I sit in my car smoking a cigarette because I did that back then. And the song, about 2 minutes later, 3 minutes later, the song's over. And I was sitting in my car going, what the hell is this James Bond movie going to be like? And wow. So I am not dissing the Queen in any way. This album it's not for me. It's not my cup of cake. I went with Die Another Day because I like the David Arnold instrumentation. It's just the song that I went with, and that's all I have to say about that.
Sometimes you just have to pick a song. I ended up going with Nothing Fails. And for this one, for me, it's the light strings, it's the acoustic guitar, and of course you got the choir rally at the end. Intervention and Ecstatic Process were also on my short list, but Nothing Fails, again, it's Madonna hitting those chiller vibes, and this is where the instrumentation actually really sold the song, as opposed to on Ray of Light, where The Power of Goodbye could have been the song, but it wasn't, and it's all because of the instrumentation.
Yeah, and I feel like such an a-hole that I said that a Madonna album didn't do it for me. Meanwhile, you just named like 3 songs where I was like, yeah, and like this is a very acoustic-based album, which is usually right up my alley. So I don't know why it just hasn't clicked with me. Maybe one of these days, or probably before this comes out, I'm going to listen to the album tomorrow or something like that and be like, what the hell is the matter with me? Why did I go with that song?
Well, see, first you have to listen to it again, and then over and over and over and over again until you like it.
Right.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Okay. Oh, yeah. No, I get it.
We now move on to November 2005 and the release of Confessions on a Dance Floor. The album hit number 1 everywhere. 5 times platinum in Canada, 4 times platinum in Italy and the UK, triple platinum in Germany and Switzerland, double platinum in Australia and Spain, and platinum in the US and the Netherlands, and diamond in France. There were 4 singles off of this one. Hung Up hit number 1 in multiple countries and peaked at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. The album won Best Electronic Dance Album at the 2007 Grammys. Now, Brian and the Only Three Lads podcast went with Hung Up, and Alex went with Sorry. So off of Confessions on a Dance Floor, what are you confessing your love for on this album?
Jason, I have a few things I need to say about this album. First of all, the song Hung Up. Do you know the live version that I'm about to reference from the Sticky Sweet tour that ends with A New Level by Pantera?
Wait, what?
Okay, get on that. It's great. It's from the Sticky Sweet tour, which I believe is from the next album. But yeah, she's playing guitar on Hung Up. It's a really great Hung Up. Like, I was all into it the first time I heard it, and all of a sudden, it just goes into a new level. And I was like, wait, what is happening here? And it's phenomenal. So there's that. That's a little spoiler for the next album's tour. If you haven't heard it yet, do it. Trust me. Now, Confessions on a Dance Floor, while it's not True Blue and it's not Ray of Light to me, this isn't an album of songs. This is one long piece, like 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence by Dream Theater. This is one long piece that's just broken up into parts depending on the album that you have it from. Confessions on the Dance Floor, I would like to just say the album, because the moods that go throughout the entire length of this album. I've said album how many times? Album. Jason says right, I say album and say baby. I don't know, right? But Confessions on the Dance Floor to me is just one long piece. I can't break it down to individual songs. But since I had to choose, and I just have this fondness for Pantera, I'm going with Hung Up, because that's a great song, man.
Madonna doing Pantera. Well,
It's amazing. And Manu Katché on the drums kills it.
If we can have Tori Amos covering Slayer on the Strange Little Girls album, then I think...
Different vibe. Like, Tori Amos made Rain and Blood her own thing. Like, this is full on a new level. You
do realize that we're going to have to go down that Tori Amos road one day, right?
Oh, of course. I'm totally down with that. I'm cool on your island.
Yes. I ended up going with Forbidden Love off of this album, and I think it's because of the straight up Daft Punk vibes that I'm going on this. And of course, I know you love that Tron Legacy soundtrack. Like, I do. Right. We've gone down that road before, but you got a very good Daft Punk vibe on the song Forbidden Love off of this.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with that. Like a zillion %.
We now move on to Hard Candy, released April 19th, 2008. The album hit number 1 globally. We'll just say it that way. Platinum in 7 countries, gold in the U.S. There were 3 singles off of this one. 4 Minutes peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Brian and Alex did go with 4 Minutes, and the Only 3 Lads podcast went with Give It To Me. So off of Hard Candy, what have you got?
I guess I'm the odd man out again, because I will be your one-stop candy shop. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going with Candy Shop.
See, for me, I had to go with the funky bass line on this one, and She's Not Me.
Oh, dude. Can I tell you a quick story about She's Not Me?
Oh, please do.
First time I saw her, she was doing Express Yourself, and then she went into the Lady Gaga chorus, Born This Way, and then went right from that into She's Not Me.
Oh, that'd be good.
Oh, it was amazing. But also hearing Madonna sing Born This Way in Express Yourself, because I remember the first time I heard Born This Way, I was like, oh, cool, Madonna's, what's this? And this is not a diss at Gaga at all. It's just, they're the same song.
Do you think we will ever get like the monster tour of Lady Gaga and Madonna together?
Dude, I can't afford that ticket. I can't even afford to think about that ticket.
Yeah. You thought Taylor Swift concert tickets were expensive. If Lady Gaga and Madonna tour together, hell. Mortgage 3 houses on that one.
The elite of the elite of the elite.
So Taylor Swift can afford all the tickets.
Yeah, and then just give them away to all of her fans.
And the Kansas City Chiefs.
And how many people aren't going to like that team anymore after they break up?
Patrick Mahomes is still a damn good quarterback.
Hell yeah. I think. I don't know. You just said sports, and I figured I'd agree.
Sports go sports.
I don't know. Ball. Yay.
We now move on to MDNA, released March 23rd, 2012. The album hit number 1 in the U.S. and multiple other countries. It is platinum in France and Italy and gold in the U.S. There were 4 singles off of this one. Give Me All Your Love hit number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, Brian and Alex went with Give Me All Your Love, and the Only 3 Lads podcast went with Best Friend. So off of, what did you go with?
Well, all right. So this is another one. I've got to choose now, because now I'm here. Because like shots fired, anybody moves, Nikki, they get hired. It's between I Don't Give a, which I like that whole middle section breakdown. I like the lyrics of I Don't Give a, and I love the string section, and that song worked great live. But now I'm thinking about it, I got to go with Turn Up the Radio, man. That's a rocker with some synth, but it's a rocker synth.
See, for me, I had to go with Masterpiece.
Oh, dude, nice.
Again, another solid vibe. Again, good lyrics to go along with it as well. But for me, it's the doubling of the vocals. The harmonizing she's doing with herself as she's doubling that track. Like, it's solid. It's really solid.
It's the first tour I ever saw her on.
I still have yet to actually see her live. Again,
Do it.
I can't afford that ticket. 2 more albums to go. And we start with Rebel Heart. Released March 6, 2015, the album hit number 1 in multiple countries, but only number 2 in the US. It is platinum in Italy. There were 4 singles off this one. Bitch, I'm Madonna hit number 84 on the Billboard Hot 100. Brian ended up going with Devil Pray, and both Alex and the Only Three Lads podcast went with Ghost Town. And I'm going to side with Alex and the Only Three Lads podcast. Ghost Town is a phenomenal song.
That hook. When it all comes down. It's tell me why.
I mean, good vibe. Love the chorus. The build-up's great. I did have Devil Pray, Joan of Arc, and the bonus track Rebel Heart on my short list. But Ghost Town, again, it's the mood I'm looking for Madonna. Some people like bands for their ballads, some people like them for their rockers, some people like them for their dance gear stuff. This is that comfort zone for me for Madonna. Yes, she's got some good dancey songs, but when it's a great vibe, I'm all in.
Dude, you just named a song that was on my short list. Joan of Arc is such a good tune, man. That's a really good tune. The other song on my short list is Hold Tight. It's got that like Duran Duran Save a Prayer keyboard sound, that doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. However, I would like to say that we are unanimous with Ghost Town.
Oh, it's such a good song. And I remember, too, when I was prepping for this show, I actually messaged you. I'm like, dude, Rebel Heart's such a good album. Like, I was surprised because I had never actually listened to this album before prepping for this show. And holy crap, this album surprised the heck out of me.
It's solid. I got it with concert tickets. I got a copy of it. And it was a very welcome copy.
Yeah, like
I would have paid for it.
When you consider that, this late into her career and she's putting out an album like Rebel Heart, like it's solid, just solid. But now we get to the final album of our little Madonna sojourn here, Madam X, released June 14th, 2019. The album did hit number 1 in the US, and it is gold in Italy. There were 4 singles off of this one. Medellin, Crave, and I Rise hit number 1 on the Billboard dance charts. Brian went with Future, and the Only Three Lads podcast chose God Control, and I'm quoting on this one, despite the rapping. Off of Madam X, what did you go with? Oh, I've broken Sean. Actually, technically speaking, the Only Three Lads podcast broke Sean, but we broke Sean.
First of all, I really need to subscribe to the Only Three Lads podcast. It's not that the rapping's bad in that song. It's just that the lyrics are kind of like, oh, come on. You, of course you smoked that dope. I also went with God Control. This was a tough album for me because kind of like American Life, it's not for me, but it's a little more accessible for me. But God Control, I'll tell you the main reason why I go with God Control. It's got your choir. And I can't believe I didn't mention it with Like a Prayer, so I'm glad that you did. But it's got your choir, but it also has it's almost like a return to form, to day one of when she was hungry and I got to create something. And she went to that 70s funk disco sound. The instrumentation on that song is so damn good. There's something almost Shaft about it. And I mean that as one of the highest compliments, because that's one of my favorite songs ever too.
See, for me, and you're right, this wasn't the easiest album to get into. Medellin, I think, is the song for me. It's got a decent mid-tempo, almost Zumba groove to it. Obviously, it's not a Zumba song, but it's got that kind of feel to it. It's very chill. You could easily see yourself out in the backyard having a drink with some friends and have the song on the radio, and it would go over fairly well. But coming off of Rebel Heart, yes, this album was a little bit harder to wrap your head around. Again, probably one of those things where you need multiple listens to it and give it the Stockholm Syndrome treatment so you can get into. You got to
stop calling it the Stockholm Syndrome treatment, because this is Madonna we're talking about, my friend. And do you know how bad I feel when I say, like, it doesn't do it for me? Let me tell you, though. Madam X, she made the album that she wanted to make. Whether we like it or not is not her problem. She succeeded in her goal. I don't hate the album as much as I thought I did on the first listen. And the few listens I've had the past few days, nothing was Stockholm Syndrome. The stuff that, like, God Control is that's just always been awesome. And 1, 2, 1, 2 is awesome. It just, I think as a whole, like, it's something like you've got to digest. You can't just get through it in one sitting. It's like a Tool album almost.
And I think that one of the hardest things with this podcast, and I'll be honest, is that there are albums where I have never listened to it, ever. And probably from an artist that I haven't really given the deep dive that I probably should have. So for me, a lot of these, in some cases, some of these albums are, first reactions, and you're either going to get, like, all of a sudden, like with Rebel Heart, and, like, just mind blowing, like, how good the album is, or Madam X, where you're like, I'm going to need some time with this. And I'm sure if we revisited this album, a year or so down the road, and I've listened to it a few more times, I might have a different take on it. But it's hard when you set out to go through an entire artist's studio discography and you're experiencing a lot of songs for the first time, and it's like, oh crap, I didn't realize there was this much. But it is, Medellin is a very, very good song.
Yeah, it is.
But now we get to the tough part. And as if going through all these albums wasn't hard enough in picking just one song off of each. Sean, if there can only be one, let's go through your list again and find out which one song stands out above the rest.
Okay, so from her first album, simply titled Madonna, I went with Borderline. From Like a Virgin, I went with Material Girl. From True Blue, I went with Live to Tell. From Like a Prayer, I went with Oh Father. From I'm Breathless, I went with Sooner or Later. From Erotica, I went with Rain. From Bedtime Stories, I went with Human Nature. From Ray of Light, I went with Candy Perfume Girl. From Music, I went with the title track. Get it? Music. From American Life, I went with Die Another Day. Holding my nose doing it. From Confessions on a Dance Floor, I went with Hung Up. From Hard Candy, I went with Candy Shop. From MDNA, I went with Turn Up the Radio. From Rebel Heart, I went with Ghost Town. From Madam X, I went with God Control. And if there can be only one Madonna song, I'm going to do a first on this list, my friend. Earlier this episode, I said one of my favorite songs of all time. And I'm still going to go with that. I'm going to choose Ray of Light by Madonna as the only one. I just chose Candy Perfume Girl as the song from that album. Can I do this?
I don't know. It's kind of breaking the rules.
I know. But, I'm in a Madonna kind of mood, and Madonna always breaks the rules.
You know what? It's you. I will allow it. We're all good. Okay, so for me, I'm going to play by the rules here, though.
Aha.
Mm-hmm. So off of the 40-year-old album Madonna, yes, I said
dude,
that.
Come on, man.
1983, 40 years ago this year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're all feeling a little bit older right now. I went with Borderline. From Like a Virgin, I went with Material Girl. From True Blue, I went with Open Your Heart. From Like a Prayer, I went with Like a Prayer. From I'm Breathless, I went with Sooner or Later. From Erotica, I went with Bad Girl. From Bedtime Stories, I went with Secret. From Ray of Light, I went with Frozen. From Music, I went with I Deserve It. From American Life, I went with Nothing Fails. Off of Confessions on a Dance Floor, I went with Forbidden Love. Off of Hard Candy, I went with She's Not Me. From MDNA, I went with Masterpiece. Off of Rebel Heart, I went with Ghost Town. And off of Madam X, I went with Medellin. I'm hoping I pronounced that right, but if I didn't, oh well, idiot, Canadian basement, I am. But if there can only be one, I'm going to go with Like a Prayer. This song really hit every single aspect that to me is Madonna. Good lyric writing, good songwriting, good chorus, good bridge, good choir, great video. It is the complete package, much like Madonna. Sean, thank you so much for going down this road. Now, before we go away, please let our listeners know where they can find you and once again, how they can purchase Gin Asylum so they can help the cats along with you.
Oh, thank you so much for that, my friend. First, I'll tell you a quick little story about the album I'm Breathless. I used to think, man, I'm out of breath. And it was only a couple years ago that I realized, oh, crap. You're telling me your character's name in the movie that this is the soundtrack from. You can find me on all the socials at Sean Faust Music or just Sean Faust on the Twitter X posting place. Sean Faust Music. Please go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy Gin Asylum. Leave a review. Leave a 5-star review. And you're going to help me a lot. Every time I say you take a drink. Every time Jason says right, you take a drink. But then you get all your friends and you get all your dollars together and you buy my song, Gin Asylum, from anywhere that you buy streaming media.
John, thank you so much. Once again, remember, you always know there's an open mic waiting for you and another artist, I'm sure, down the road that we are going to cover. And to you, our listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Be sure to join in whenever we put the call-outs and let you know which episodes we're working on because we want to hear the songs that you pick. You can find us on social media at OnlyOneCast, or you can go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. John, thank you. Listeners, thank you so much. This is There Can Only Be One, a member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Until next time, everyone, take care.
Hey folks, Stefan Shirazi and Renee Richardson here from the Metallica Report.
And we are proud members of the Pantheon podcast family, where the best of music and podcasts unite.
We've got something pretty cool for you. We're giving away an exclusive Metallica merch package worth over $250.
That's a whole lot of Scary Guys, Skulls, M72, and other sought-after Metallica swag. And we've made it easy for you to win. Follow and share the Metallica Report, and you're in the game. Go to pantheonpodcast.com/Metallica, enter your email, and hit that button to be entered to win.
And just like that, you're eligible for our monthly exclusive Metallica merch package.
And guess what, rockers? You can enter every month, so just do it. And while we love our global brothers and sisters, the lawyers won't let us ship outside the U.S.